bringing you the news and information you need from the people making a difference. This is Comcast Newsmakers.
Thank you for joining us. The subject of mental health is subject to so many different perspectives. We're going to find out a little bit more about that from Bob Bennett, who's Executive Director of the Mental Health Association of San Francisco. And I think, Bob, that many people do have misconceptions about mental health and what's normal, what's not normal, what's acceptable, what's not acceptable. Is that true or not?
Serious mental illness is a disease. It's not a behavioral choice. It's not just being odd. It's a disease that impacts the rest of your life. So the rest of your life can be chaotic, but at the core of it is a disease that needs treatment and needs effective treatment. And what I was hoping to talk about today, Jack, is our early psychosis treatment program. It's called PrEP, or Prevention and Recovery from Early Psychosis. It's a joint project with Mental Health Association of San Francisco and with UCSF. And it's like no other program in the United States, we believe. In the first place, it's early and rigorous diagnosis. Usually schizophrenia takes 2 or 3 years after it's manifested itself to be diagnosed. Our methodology will let us diagnose it up to a year early. The result of that is tremendous in terms of the outcomes. Schizophrenia is a terrible disease. It affects about 1% of the population, which just in terms of San Francisco means there are about 7,000 people with schizophrenia in San Francisco at any one time.
Let me stop there just for a second. The early stages of schizophrenia, if we know somebody, or it's Uncle Harry, or it's Aunt Fran, or whatever it is, how does someone know that person is really suffering some real problem and get help for them?
You can't know. You can only suspect and fear. We really urge people to call us at 474-7310. The only way to know for sure is to get a good diagnosis, and that's one of the things we're providing. And every time I talk about this, people come up to me afterwards, and everybody has a story of someone in their family who they tried to get help for and weren't able to get help, and they knew something was going wrong. It's usually teenagers or young adults. It's usually at first characterized by secretiveness, by odd ideas, by withdrawal from normal social relationships, a lot of times loss of interest.
Okay, a lot of times, if having raised a number of children, they go through various phases, right? I mean, they are secretive, they are this, that, they're a combination of things, but they're not they're not heading into schizophrenia, you know. So those things, there's got to be something more that tips off somebody. Or maybe extreme examples
often
of that.
There's not. I mean, you don't want to wait until your child is taken to an emergency room strapped to a gurney. You want to get an early diagnosis. And if there really is evidence of schizophrenia, then you can get treatment early. If there's not, then you're relieved.
Okay, does this normally manifest itself in teenage years or
It starts in teenage years. It can start earlier, but it rarely does. It usually starts in teenage years and sometimes much later. It can start up to 30, although usually after 24 if it hasn't manifested.
I'm assuming that if it starts in teenage years, this is the time you've got to get into the program you're talking about.
Right. If you wait too long, damage is done and it becomes a lot harder to treat.
Okay. And the percentage of people who suffer from this again?
1%.
1%. That's a lot of people.
It's a lot of people. It's equivalent to most major diseases.
Yeah, okay, all right. And the Mental Health Association of San Francisco is starting.
Actually, you have the wrong agency. I'm with Family Service Agency of San Francisco.
Okay.
Our partnership is with Mental Health Association.
Okay.
But we actually, Mental Health Association provides the community education. We provide the treatment.
Okay. All right. And Bob Bennett's been our guest. Thank you very much for watching.
Thank you, Jack.